Good evening and welcome to the Central Connecticut Intergroup Speaker Meeting. My name is Deanna and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi,
Hi,
Deanna.
Deanna.
Alcoholics Anonymous Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. It does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And I've asked Pete to read how it works.
My name is Peter, alcoholic,
Hi,
Peter.
and how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves a simple program. Usually men and women who are constantly incapable of being honest with themselves. They are such unfortunates. They're not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They're naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty. Their chances are less than average. They're those too who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders, but many of them do recover if they have capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, what we're like now. If you decide you want what we have and are willing to go to ends to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. As soon as we balked, we thought we could find an easier off the way, but we could not. Well, the nurse of a command, we beg you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go absolutely. Remember that with alcohol, cunning, baffling, and powerful. Without help, it's too much for us, but there is one who is all power. That one is God. May you find him now. Half measures avail us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked for protection and care with complete abandon. Here are steps we took with suggestions of program recovery. 1. We admitted we were powerless for alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. 2. Came to believe the power greater ourselves to restore us to sanity. 3. Made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5. Made to God to ourselves no human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6. We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7. Humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. 8. In the small person of harm, came willing to make amends to them all. 9. Made direct amends to such people whenever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10. Can take personal inventory when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11. Sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and power to carry that out. 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and the practice principles in all our affairs. Many of us explain, what an order. I can't go through with it. Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything perfect adherence to these principles. We're not saints. The point is that we're willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of alcoholic, the chapter agnostic, and our personal events before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. A, that we're alcoholic and not manage our own lives. B, that probably no human power could live alcoholism. And C, that God could and would if he were sought.
Thank you, Pete. And if you could please help me welcome our speaker, Joe.
Hi, everybody. My name's Joe. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi,
Joe. Joe.
Once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Thank you for having me. It's really great to be here tonight. Celebrating the 90th Founders Day today, which was a very nice surprise to find out this morning when I got up and my sponsor had sent me a text. Happy Founders Day. What it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I'm here to try to share my experience, strength, and hope. And I identify as a retread in this program. So I bounce around a little bit in my story, so just keep that in mind, and it might make it easier to follow. I started using alcohol. I'm going to say it was the after 5th grade, and then the summer off in between 5th and 6th. Sometime around then, I think there were some older kids in the neighborhood, and starting off with some blackberry brandy, and pretty soon it was getting 6 packs of Michelob, and it seemed like within a couple weeks of drinking, I was also smoking marijuana, smoking pot. And that's part of my story. Hopefully that doesn't offend anybody, but that was just my experience. So, yeah, by the time I was in sixth grade, I was smoking quite a bit, drinking quite a bit, and that was like the weekend thing to do. And it didn't take long where, why wait for the weekend, By the time I was, a freshman in high school, I had flunked out my first freshman year. Couldn't seem to manage to get there often enough for them to pass me. And I think I passed two subjects that first freshman year, gym and social studies. And the only requirement to pass gym was to show up with your gym shorts. So I managed to do that somehow. But yeah, I used to joke with people, yeah, I liked freshman year so much I did it twice. And I remember going home after finding out I flunked out like it was a surprise at the end of the year that I wasn't going to make it. I was totally surprised. And telling my parents, and they sat down, my mom and dad sat down with me as they had done more than once with the pep talk. I call it the pep talk. And they were always, unified. They sat there, and there wasn't going to be any, well, he said or she said, or, I couldn't play one against the other. And I remember my mom saying, "Oh, that's too bad. You didn't pass, but don't worry about it. You take as long as you want. If it takes 5 or 6 years or 7 years to get out of high school, you take all the time you need. But you're gonna graduate high school." And I knew they were serious about that. So I realized then that, wow, I got to do this again. I got to repeat a freshman year. So I kind of dial it down a little bit. I dialed it down enough because I knew that, I wanted to get out of high school. I wasn't like one of these people that was really into school. I did go early when I did go because there was a chance to smoke and drink before school sometimes, and there was enough kids that were doing that. It wasn't hard to find them. All you had to do was go behind the school or out in the woods or, off to the side of the bus stop, whatever. And yeah, so by the time I did graduate high school, and I ended up going to California for a 2-week vacation after I graduated, and I was out there for probably a month or two before I called my parents asking, if I could get some money to come back home, and my dad says, no, thank you, have a good time. So one job led to another, and I got into an apprenticeship for union carpenter out there, and did an apprenticeship and worked as an apprentice, and continued to the good thing about California for a drinker was that the package stores were open 23 and a half hours a day. For whatever reason, they had some law they had to close down for a half an hour. I guess just to restock the shelves or I don't know what it was. But yeah, so the partying really escalated. There was nobody to answer to. And I was out there for a little over 3 years, and before I came back to Connecticut, and washed out. I came back like I tell friends, like a mangy dog. I was cooked, and at some point after getting back to Connecticut, I started to dial it down again. I call it dialing it down, and got a job and got a place, and got sober one day. I was with some friends, and I had at this point I had already gotten married, and the woman I married was enjoyed I'll just say a party lifestyle like I did, and we got married. We had children, and at this point I had 3 kids, and I was living in Middletown, and I remember having my oldest one on my on the couch, and he was on my chest, and he kind of rolled a little bit. I had to catch him so he didn't hit the ground. My mother-in-law was there, and she went wild. Oh, if you ever drop that kid or anything ever happens, I'll make sure you never see him again. And I didn't understand. She was flipping out. But anyway, the next day, I was out on the front porch with some of my buddies, and we're drinking and smoking and having a good time. And before getting sober, they were always called war stories. And then after you're sober, you know, it's drunk-a-log. But we were doing the war story thing. And, you know, and it was always top you. You know, this guy did that, so you got to tell him what you did. That was, and the next day I'm thinking to myself, geez, Joe, you know, I don't think normal people brag about the kind of stuff you guys are talking about. You know, it kind of, something hit me, and I knew there was something wrong. And anyway, I sought out an AA meeting, got into Alcoholics Anonymous, started going to meetings, got a sponsor, and life was good. Got sober, and things were getting better. And somehow, by the grace of God, even though a short period of time went by, and I got rid of the sponsor because he was telling me to do all the things that sponsors tell you to do, and I really didn't want to do everything. I just didn't want to have to suffer the consequences on you know, all the trouble that the drinking and drugging would get me into all the time. So I lost the sponsor. I stopped going to meetings, and some again, by the grace of God, I was still staying sober. So I stayed sober, or you know, I guess you could challenge the sobriety there, but I didn't drink or use for 12 years, and until I went back out after a hernia operation. I had got, and it took me a while to remember because I was on a 5-year run when I went back out after that. And when I came back into the rooms, one of the guys that took me under his wing, every once in a while he'd ask me, well, how could you be sober? How could you not drink for 12 years and then go back out? What made you do that? What made you do that? And I couldn't give him the answer. I says, I don't know, dude. When I came back in, I was just, you know, like the expression, the lights were on, but nobody was home. I was just one of those guys that didn't fall down. I just kept staggering around, you know. It was like getting hit in the head with a baseball bat, not falling down. But he would ask me every once in a while, every 6 months, and he'd ask me again. And I never knew what it was. I couldn't put my finger on anything. And then some years later, I realized, oh yeah, that hernia operation, when I got a pretty massive prescription for the OxyContins. And after going home and starting to take those, it wasn't, you know, one every 4 hours or whatever it was. And then pretty soon I was like, there's that pain again. I better take another one. It's close enough. And then pretty soon doubling down on the prescription, and then pretty soon just washing them down with some Jack Daniels. And I was off and running. And that lasted for 5 years. And got a divorce. The first time I got married, I was drunk when I got married and sober when I got divorced. And then the second time I got married, I was sober and drunk when I got divorced. But anyway, yeah, after that 5-year run, another divorce under my belt. All the kids were out of the house. I was in the house by myself so I could drink like I wanted to, uninterrupted. And I did. And towards the end of it, it was basically in my basement in front of the wood stove, and keeping the stove going and drinking and stockpiling those little mini kegs. Back then they started coming out with the little, whatever they were, the little mini kegs, Heineken and Paulie Girl and Coors Light, and stockpiling, because I was never one of those guys you'd hear, oh yeah, we ran out so we went to New York. Not me. I don't, you know, I was prepared. And so yeah, when I came back into the rooms after my 5-year run, I was beat up. Alcohol had beaten me into a state of reasonableness, and you know, like I've heard more than once in the rooms, I came crawling back, and I landed at a place over in Bristol that has a lot of meetings at it, and I just kept going there and going there, and in the beginning, the main thing, I was unemployable. I don't know how long it had been since I had worked a job, and my strategy was just to go to as many meetings as I could, and that was going to keep me from drinking. And for the most part, it did. And at some point, after a few weeks of trying that, and just, I was still hanging on by my teeth, doing it that way. And I was at a men's meeting, and that I had gone to a bunch of times, and I met once a week down there. And, I threw it out there at the meeting. After the meeting, I says, hey, yeah, I'm coming back, I've been sober, but I'm coming back, and I need a sponsor. And I didn't think anybody was going to say yes, because why would they? You got to be pretty freaking nuts to be sober and go back out. That's the way I looked at it, because I remember in my period of sobriety, noticing after about a year or so, people coming back into the rooms. I says, how could you do something like that? What's wrong with that person, And, well, no, I don't know. What's wrong with me? So, but anyway, I got a sponsor, started working the steps, working the program. And this time around, I got involved, I went I'm going to say all in, and jumped in with both feet. And had a sponsor, was taking commitments, was going to meetings, and I was involved with people in the program. So the first time around, my sponsor, Frank, like I said, he was a great sponsor, and he had all the right suggestions and all the right things. But when it came time for the alcothons, and hey, we're having a picnic, a bunch of us are having a picnic this weekend, and I'm like, I'm not hanging out with you drunks. You're crazy. And that was, that was me. But now today I realize that it's a better life for me today, and for my children, the people in my life, and society in general. I know one gentleman, he says, yeah, society's better off with me being in Alcoholics Anonymous, and the society is certainly better off, and I don't have to behave like I used to, and I still do stupid things, say stupid things, make mistakes, blah, 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 but they're not to the degree or the frequency that they used to be. And when I say something stupid, now I know it. Oops, why did you say that? But luckily it doesn't happen as often as it used to. And one of the things I learned in this program is it's when I'm wrong to promptly admit it. And that can usually diffuse the situation pretty quickly. So, yeah, I've been back over 13 years now. So in a week or so, if God willing, by the grace of God, I'll be celebrating 14 years. And my life today, I still have the ups and the downs, but it's kind of smoothed out. That roller coaster ride isn't quite as extreme as it used to be. And when I do get into the hard times, because living life on life's terms, people still get sick, people still die, things happen that I don't like. I got to do things that I don't like, but that's life. And if I'm a sober man today, it's easier to deal with those things, and I'm less likely to be making the situation worse. Which in the past, you can ignore stuff all you want, but it's only a matter of time, right? You run, but at some point it catches up with you. And so I'm not running anymore. I'm kind of walking along at a reasonable pace, and I'm satisfied with a little bit of progress. Try to be a better person today than I was yesterday, and like I said, I know I'm not perfect. I still have a little bit of a temper once in a while. It comes out, and it's so few and far between. Those, I'll just say, the temper tantrums, that when it does come out, it's like, oh my God, I forgot what that was like. It's been so long, but that's part of one of my many character defects, and I'm willing to admit that today. Whereas a friend of mine years ago, when I was out there drinking and ripping and running, he used to call himself the perfect drinker. And well, what does that mean, the perfect drinker? And well, in his mind, He didn't have any problems. Everybody had the problems. He didn't. As long as he was drinking, he didn't have any problems. Everybody else was wrong and he was right. And that's, you know, I guess that's how I felt a lot of times too. It's like, hey, the whole world is wrong. I'm the only one that's right. And that's not the case, you know. So, you know, today I have a program that I stick to, a routine. And for whatever reason, the word discipline seems to pop up with me more and more lately. And discipline for me is when I get up is to say a prayer of gratitude to my higher power. And my prayer goes something like this. I just thank my higher power that this blackout alcoholic, drug addict, is waking up sober today in a warm bed, a roof over my head with a wonderful family, a wonderful girl, a great place to live, and a great life, and a great fellowship that I'm a part of. And it's great to be a part of this fellowship. I can go to any meeting, any place, and always feel welcomed. And there's so many people, you know, you walk in and, oh, somebody's extending their hand. Hi, I'm so-and-so, welcome, you know. And I've learned to do the same thing. Seeing a stranger at a place, hey, welcome to, you know, glad you're here. And one of the things, there's a lot of paradoxes for me in this program, and not the least of which is it's better to give than to receive. And I really learned, for me, in this program, what that meant for me. It's like, wow, I am so fortunate to be able to extend my hand to somebody who's coming in, to welcome them and tell them that, you know, hey, you're in the right place, you know, than to be the person coming in, you know, coming back, coming in. And, you know, it's better to be extending a hand to somebody who needs it than to be the one who needs the help. And I've gotten a lot of help from a lot of people in the program over the years, and continue to get that when, you know, I always seem to be in a right place or meeting the right person, that kind of thing. And getting the kind of inspiration that I need on a daily basis. Because one of the problems that I have in this program is I forget that it's a 24-hour program, one day at a time. And when I get a little bit like, you know, involved in, you know, the day-to-day stuff, and I start planning too far ahead, and oh my goodness, look at this list of stuff I've got. I haven't gotten to, and it's getting overwhelming. And let's just dial it back. Let's just deal with today. You know, pick the most important thing, do the next right thing, and take it easy on yourself. Be a little bit forgiving, and you know, and I am a little more forgiving, and a little more tolerant and accepting, and I try to be accepting of other people too. And you know, had a great read today. I was at a meeting earlier today, and it was about patience and acceptance. And if I'm willing to be tolerant and patient and accepting, and realizing that everybody on the planet is going through something that I got no idea. I may have no idea what it is. I really don't know. And you know, today I try to be aware of other people. I'm not the only one that's had a hard, you know, we all go through stuff in life where nobody gets through unscathed. And there's, you know, there's a saying out there that comes from another big book, other than our big book of AA, which is, in every life the rain is going to fall. And it does. We all have the traumas and those experiences, but it's just a matter of getting through it. And one of the nice things that I heard more recently is, to date, I have survived every major catastrophe I have encountered. And so that gives me a little inspiration just to keep trudging forward. Thank you for letting me share, and it's a privilege to be here.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate you coming and sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us. And I will open it up. Anybody who would like to comment?
Peter, alcoholic.
Hi, Peter.
Joe, you know, we ran across down the street a little bit, you know, before, and it's like, you know, and then you went to Bristol, and then we started going up there for breakfast and meeting, and then I ran into you again. It's, you know, it's like, you know, it's amazing the program we have today in the fellowship, and we talked about my mind is kind of scattered, but you talked about somebody we show up when we show up in there putting the hand out, and you talk about just a little progress. One of the guys used to say it's a fingernails growth. That's all I need, a fingernails growth, and I'm okay today. That's all I need to have. And it's about doing the legwork and not listen to a sponsor somebody detrimental to my health if I don't do what I'm suggested. And usually they have a love for me. They want me to be sober. So they're not going to try to steer me wrong. And sometimes I'm thick-headed. But if I keep coming here on a regular basis with open mind listening, I can continue to grow. Thank you for sharing your story, Joe.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Peter.
Hi, Joe. My name is Dave. I'm an alcoholic.
Hi,
Hi,
Dave.
Dave.
Two things that really struck me. One of them was you talked about war stories versus about sharing. And a good friend of mine, he's actually my brother-in-law now. We partied for a long time together, and we did a lot of disgraceful things out there. And I celebrated 41 years. He's got 39 years. So it's been a long time that we've run. But we'll get together sometimes and we'll talk about things that we've done. The war stories. And his companion, she freaks out because she's never seen him drunk, and she's never seen me drunk. But she has had alcoholism in her life, And I'm glad you brought that up because it took me a long time to realize why she was never all that thrilled about me being around, because it scared her. It scared what we used, it scared her because of what we used to be like and what we could become again, if we drink, And I'm really glad you brought that up, war stories versus, because that's what we'd get into. It was more than just sharing. It was kind of the war stories, And my son works with him, and he'll come home, and he'll go, "Did you and Uncle Jay really do that?" Yeah, Then he'd ask his mother, who's his sister, "Yeah, they did that," But it's amazing. And the other thing you talked about was the age that you started drinking. I did the same thing. I was like 11, that same age group. And I don't remember if I got drunk then, but I remember there was something about this that I really liked, that it actually scared me. And I didn't really drink for like another 3 or 4 years after that. But after that, the dragon was out, and it was like, boom. And the minute I started really drinking, I was off and running, and until, I made a decision and petitioned God to help me. I mean, I was drinking every day, and a lot of it wasn't pretty, A lot of it I don't remember, Like at concerts, it's funny, I'll talk to people about concerts. Yeah, I was at that concert. I don't remember a damn thing. I remember going. I don't remember leaving, But I think I had a good time, But there's just so much damage out there that was done, and it's amazing that any of us have survived any, the catastrophes, And we're still here. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, David.
I'm an alcoholic.
Eric.
Thanks, Joe, for speaking. It was great hearing you. It's the first time I've heard you identified with the word retread. I'm a multiple retreader, if that's such a word. I'm going to use it. But coming back in, identified with that feeling of that pain and the desperation, and getting involved. And you're one of the first people that introduced themselves when I started going to meetings in Bristol. And you kind of gave me a little push. Hey, they need X, Y, and Z service done here. And, I didn't say no. And, it heightened my sobriety and took it to another level. And, every time you share, you have something powerful to say. And it's, you have a great message. And, to be doing this on the 90th is, it's pretty special. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can everyone please help me welcome or thank Joe again for sharing? And we'd like to close with the responsibility statement. I am responsible when anyone, anywhere, reaches out for help. I want the hand of AA to always be there, and for that I am responsible. Thank you.
Thank you.